pop-up mystery stamping in the snow event. In case we haven't met, my name is Sharon Rogers and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. This is my Stampin' Buddy Crash. Oop, I forgot to shut off my computer's audio. So let me see. This is my Stampin' Buddy Crash. He's hanging out with me today. It is, I'm in Southern Maine and it is blustery. There's a snow-a-cane, which is a hurricane, except for the winter with snow. And so it really doesn't seem all that bad here. I know that Anne, who is going to be popping on, oh, she's here. She's over in Lyman, which is a little bit more rural, and she says some of her neighbors have lost power. We have not, hasn't even flickered here. So it's not so bad. We didn't get as much snow as we were supposed to. Originally, there was talk of, 9 to 12 or more inches, and it might hit 5, I suppose, 5 or 6. So not bad here. A lot of places are closed. Roads are pretty quiet. My husband went out. He got me a tasty treat from McDonald's. So let's see, who else is here? Reba is here from Houston, so no snow where she is. Oh, sorry, my glasses are so dirty. I can barely see. And I see that Deb is joining from Dover. And yes, Margaret, he's fun. He doesn't even really mind it when I spin around. He's so used to it. And Margaret's in Illinois where it's cold. It is supposed to be warm here Saturday, 48 degrees, but then right back down. Just enough to get some things melting. So that's fantastic. Let's see, Linda's here from Idaho, and let's see, I think that I've caught everybody that's jumping on. Julie had texted me, said she's going to be lurking in the background. So anyway, welcome. This is just a pop-up mystery stamping event. So for those of you who may not have seen what you need in order to kind of stamp along, you're going to need a full sheet of cardstock. So a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that coordinates with your DSP. You'll need 2 pieces of, you know what, I should turn myself down. Let me turn the camera down and I'll talk about it. I'll show you what I'm using as you get your stuff ready. So there's me watching me. And let's see, we'll put it down on my desk here. Okay. All right, so you'll need oh, sorry, that was just a rough turn down here. So I'm going to be using crumb cake for my card base, and you'll need a full sheet, 8.5 by 11. You're also going to need some designer series paper. Now I am using, I'm thinking spring, and so this lovely paint perennial lavender. Now this has been around for I'd say 2 years now anyway, and it's just beautiful, beautiful paper. I actually used it as, it wasn't the primary card, but it was a secondary card I showed for my Friday Night Live, where I did this kind of square shadow technique, or shadow square, I forgot what I called it. But really, really pretty, really, really pretty paper. I love the purples and the peacocks, Lost Lagoon colors in there. So I'm using that, and you're gonna need 2 different pieces. I'm gonna use this piece, and this is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And then I'm gonna be using another piece that I haven't finished cutting yet, and that's this one. Now, if you have a directional designer series paper, you want to make sure that it is landscape. So another 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So these 2 are exactly the same size. So you need those 2. You're going to need an inside layer, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And I've chosen basic white. You can choose whatever goes with your other items. Like if you have a vanilla base, you might want to choose very vanilla. You might want to go basic beige. Anything that's light. I mean, technically, crumb cake is light enough, so I don't probably need an inside layer. It just creates a better or a more finished look, I should say. And then you're going to need some labels. And so I cut mine out of basic white to go with the inside. This inside piece doesn't actually look like it's the right measurement. I'm just gonna come over here and make sure it is. Nope, it was a little bit too wide. There we go, that's better. Make sure it's the right width. Yep, it's the right width now, okay. Isn't that funny? I mean, you know I've been a paper crafter for a long time when this much extra on the width tells me that it's not right. All right, I'm kind of proud of myself for that. All right, so you also need a label. Now, I've used one of the Everyday Arches. I think this is I think it's the 5th smallest. Yeah, it's the 5th smallest. And if you want to mat that, you can. So I've used the Everyday Arches, but you can use a circle, you can use a square, you can use a rectangle. So for instance, these textured notes dies, I don't know if you're aware, but these are great nesting dies, and they are on last chance list. So when they're gone, they're gone. These are a really nice staple to have, I think. I was so surprised when Stampin' Up! Announced that those were on the last chance products list. So surprised. Oh, Crash wants to get out. Too bad, Crash. You're stuck in here for now. I'm actually going to, and I didn't include this on the instruction sheet or supply list, but I'm going to math this. So I'm going to choose this, the next size up of Everyday Arches. So see, it's just the next size up. And I'm going to die cut that too. You can choose if you want to or not. I kind of, when I wrote the directions, I hadn't really decided on this particular patterns. Like I knew I wanted the floral pattern, but I didn't realize I was going to pick something so light for the top. So I just wanted a darker one to set it off. If you have darker colors that you're using, you're probably going to find yourself fine with just a white label. But I'm going to just kind of come off to the side and cut another label here. So while you're gathering stuff, I'm cutting stuff too. All right, so there I have that. And then if you want to have any extra scrap pieces, if you like to layer lots of, you know, like I have these flowers kind of sitting on my desk. They're not for this project, but if you wanted to do some die cuts to put on this label, then you'll just need some extra scraps for that. I'm going to be stamping right on here though. And I think that might be it. You need, of course, stamps and ink and any embellishments that you want. All right, are we ready to get started? This will be available on the replay, so if you get behind, just pause and watch, and you can go back and make it later. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take our 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, and we're going to score it at 4 1/4 on the short side. So just like you would do if you were making 2 card bases, because that's honestly kind of what we're doing. So I've got the short side along here, I've got it at 4 1/4, and I'm going to score, not cut. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. So I have made 2 card bases. All right. Pretty simple. We're not done with our paper trimmer yet because we're going to turn these 2 card bases into 1 card base. This is going to be, if you've ever heard of a Dutch door fun fold, A Dutch door fun fold basically cuts off this top little part here, and so you kind of, some people call it a barn door fun fold. That's what we're going to create here, and you're going to create them the same way. So let's go ahead. I want to cut off the top here. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to go slowly with this, and I'll do it again. I'll talk it through once, I'll do it, and I'll talk it through again. You're going to put your card in here at 4 1/4. And you will notice that your original score line is in the ditch of your trimmer, which is what you want. We want to cut off this top half here. Now, because this length is 5 1/2, half of it is 2 3/4. So I'm going to cut down 2 3/4, which just happens to be the 2 3/4 mark because it's halfway. So I'm going to do that with my paper trimmer. And there's this little notch on the side of the cutting blade that tells you when to stop at 2 3/4. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, I can. Look at that. All right, so I've got it at the 2 3/4. So I've cut down 2 3/4. So once again, you're going to put it at 4 1/4 because that's going to be half of this length. And then you're going to cut down on that score line to the 2 3/4 mark. Now you're going to rotate this, and you're going to put it at the 2 3/4 mark. And I know for some of you, I'm using my trimmer upside down. People who have watched me for a while, they know that's just how I do it. I've tried to change myself and I can't. All right, so we're going to put it at 2 3/4 because that's the halfway mark of this side. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oops, that's zooming in. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, and then I want to put this at the 4 1/4 mark, which is right on that score line. And I'm going to cut there. And you should have this come right off. You're going to do the exact same thing to the other card, because now I've got this bottom left here. When I fold it, we see we have the bottom. The other one, I'm going to come in here and I want to cut off the top. But look at what happens. When I spin this around, that's the top. So that's what I mean by you can do the exact same thing you just did again. So you've got two identical card fronts. You're going to do the same thing to both of them. All right, so we're going to come in here again and place it at 4 1/4. And then you should see the score line in the ditch. You're going to cut down to 2 3/4. Okay. Then you're going to rotate it, and you're going to put it at 2 3/4. And put your trimming blade at the 4 1/4 mark and cut. And you may have to play with it just a little bit to get that, to free up this little piece. Sometimes if I don't have it cut right, I just go ahead and bring in my little snips. All right, so that's what we have here. And this, my paper trimmer is getting a little rough. I need to change out the blade. Okay. So now we're done. How are we all doing? Are we keeping up? These now are just scraps you can use some other time. So what you see is if you put those bases together, you get this card. Now, look at what happens though. We've got some showing off at the edge here, and that's because you can't put two things together that are the same size with a fold over and have them work out very nicely. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take this piece right here, this right-hand side one. Again, it doesn't matter because they're the exact same. You're gonna cut off just a sliver from the edge. So when I say sliver, what I usually do is I put it just so it covers up that gray part in there. And then it just cuts off maybe a 1/16 of an inch. You don't even have to go that much, but I find that if I try to get too skinny, it just kind of eats up my paper on the edge a little bit. So now if I go back and put this in here, now you can see that this edge over here, if I stack them nicely, lines up nicely. Okay, and that's what you're going for. All right, I need some of you to chime in and tell me if you're ready for the next part. So until I see that, I'm going to just go back, and you're just cutting off 2 3/4 inches from here and 2 3/4 inches from the bottom, which is, see, I promised you they were the same. They're the same. Okay. All right, Deb says she's ready. All right, so once you've scored on the edges, I mean, not scored, but folded. So you folded and creased them. Let me bring in my bone folder. Okay, I also like to just kind of run it along this cut edge, because sometimes with the score line there, it wants to stick up a little bit. And then because my paper trimmer is naughty, I'm just gonna cut that off. I could have buffed it off with a little sandpaper too, but all right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere the glue. I mean, we're going to put some glue on here, or whatever your adhesive is. I like glue because it gives me a little time, little wiggle time. We're going to adhere those two pieces together. So I'm going to take the back of this, and apply my glue that I'm running out of. Okay. And again, you want to make sure the edge lines up nicely. And look, I can close that, and it's lining up very nicely. At least from the front. How's it look on the back? Oh, looks perfect on the back too. Good job, Sharon. Not always that way. All right, so there we have that. And you can see that you now have this kind of double Dutch piece here. Linda is saving it to make it later. Yes, sometimes it's nice to just see it done first. I just recently took the craft class that Stampin' Up! Offered on the Lovely Blossoms suite, and I decided I wanted to kind of watch a little bit before I committed, because sometimes I like to change things. Like they made a bunch of tags. I'm not a tag person, so I made them into some cards, which you will see on my March Tune-In Tuesday, the March 10th Tune-In Tuesday. I've already started filming that. Can you believe it? All right, so now we're going to bring in our 2 designer series papers, and you're going to adhere them to each of those panels. So you'll have to decide which one do you want on the top, which one do you want on the bottom. I typically like the darker one on the bottom. That's just a me thing. So I'm going to put this on here, and I notice that, oh, some of it's hanging down a little bit. I can trim that off afterwards. I don't want it to hang above the top here, though. That would be not good, because then it's going to hinder things from opening. Whoa, that's upside down. My paper is directional, so I want to make sure that I have it going the right direction. So I make sure that nothing's sticking over on the top there. All right, that looks good. I can flip it over and then just trim off this excess pretty easily. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing to the top. You know what? Why don't I just, it's the same size. I can go ahead and just put my adhesive on here if I can get it to come out. There we go. Come on, I only need you for a little bit more. There we go. All right, so I'm lining these edges, this bottom edge up. Just what I did before. And this piece looks like it's a little bit too long over here too. So when we flip it over, I'm going to trim off the excess. I guess my measuring was a little wrong when I was putting this, getting this ready. And I can see that it was a little long in this dimension as well. So we'll cut off this little excess. If you prep your stuff better, you don't have to go these extra steps. But I'm here just to show you what happens if it's not perfect. All right, so we've got that. All right, this piece is going to go on the inside. I'm going to wait and put in some decoration there. Okay. Now, what you can also notice is that you get a little bit, remember we trimmed off a little bit here, so you've got this showing. If that bothers you, you can cut that off. It's not gonna, this side will stick out a little bit further, doesn't really matter. When it's closed, it's still gonna look like the proper card front. It does not bother me at all in there. You know what, I think, I should stamp first, shouldn't I? So I'm going to hold off on this and save it for later. All right, so I'm going to bring in my labels now. And I've decided that I'm going to make this kind of like a get well card, I guess. Now I just need to find my inks. So I brought in some inks that I know are in, or colors that I know are in this designer series paper. Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock, and Gorgeous Grape. Aren't these beautiful together? I love just even looking at these ink cases. So pretty. So pretty. All right, let's see, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do Here For You. So in the middle of my layer, I'm going to ink up. This pad feels kind of sticky, like it needs some more ink. I'm going to add in Here For You. Lovely. And I am using, for those of you who don't recognize it, I am using the Greenery Lane bundle. I know that Reba just ordered this today. And it's got some pretty sayings, very bold sayings. Bold font, a little thank you there, but also just lots of little greenery, and that works for, it works all year round because people that don't like winter like to use greenery. It reminds them of spring, I think. So now I'm going to take just a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to be stamping off some of this, and I will bring in, I think, my Lost Lagoon. I've got the large little leafy branch here. I'll ink that up, and let's see, I'm gonna put some of it over down here. And then I'll bring some of it branching down up here. All right. This is a 2-step stamping set. So for instance, this is 2 steps. So you stamp the outline and then you stamp the fill. So I've got the outline here and then the fill. I'm going to do it in the same color. Let me show you off the paper for a second. So there's my outline. I can just add the fill right on top of it. This is a little hard because I'm not looking right over it, which is going to be a problem when I go to stamp, I think. But I'm not going to do that because it's so dark. All of it's so dark. I'm going to stamp the outline in Pretty Peacock. And I will stamp the fill in Pretty Peacock, but I'm going to stamp off. All I'm doing on that piece right there. All right. I'm going to layer this onto here. Come on. You can make it. I really only have 2 more things that you need to do. That is adhere this. Might be clogged, hold on. You just need to adhere this and you need to adhere the inside layer. So come on, be good to me. Am I the only one that talks to my tools? So I got that centered right there nicely. All right, where's my card base? And we're going to put this right here on the card base. You can die cut extra things if you want to. Like you could put a little sprig back here if you wanted to. I don't think I will. I was going to say I don't think I want to, but now I kind of like it. It's going in the wrong direction for that though. I don't know. You tell me, should I do the sprig behind or no sprig behind? What do you think? Who's going to chime in first and give me the answer? I'll wait. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to get out some extra things. Yes, okay, so that means Reba says I should put this behind here. All right, so I'm going to do that. Now, when I put this behind here, I have to be very careful because I don't want to get any excess adhesive anywhere. So I'm just going to put it on this part that's hidden and just a little bit because I don't want it to smear out the edges. All right. So if I'm doing something that looks like this, all right. So now I don't have anything on here that's going to get stuck to this top piece. But I do have to stick it to this bottom flap. So I'm going to use a dimensional on both of these bottom corners. And then because I want to make sure that I put them high enough that it gives some stability, but not high enough so that it kind of overlaps these 2 pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 dimensionals and put them somewhat close together in the center. And so now I will have a total of 4 dimensionals holding this on. So that looks pretty good right there, I think. And then we can open. And then all we need to do is decorate the inside of our card. So let's go ahead and, let's see, let's do Wishing You Well. Someone that I know just had a hip replacement. So this would, ooh, Wishing You Well. I've already got it out somewhere. Oh, nope, it's right here. So this would probably be a good card to send. Although it's a guy, so it's a little girly, but you know what? I bet he'll appreciate the sentiment anyway. Or maybe I'll just make another one. Pretty sure cold and flu season isn't over yet, so there will be another opportunity to wish somebody well, I'm sure. So there we have that. And let's go ahead and bring in these, my big leafy thing again. Except I'm gonna get bolder and stamp it in Pretty Peacock down here. So if you are going to make one of these cards, I would love for you to email me, stamperhood@gmail.com. Email me a photo of it, and I'm going to upload them. Or you can upload them to the Facebook page, Mrs. Rogers Stamperhood. And then everybody will get to see them. So there's my inside, here's my outside. Now let's put on some of these purple fine shimmer gems, which I know I'm running out of. So let's see. I think what I could do is put on a bunch of little ones up here, maybe, almost like they're little flowers. Definitely not going to a guy. And maybe we'll put a larger flower, quote unquote flower, down here on this side. And there is my card. It is a double Dutch door. Well, I guess it can't be a double Dutch door because our Dutch doors at the church where I work, there's just two halves. You don't usually open, well, you either open them all at once, but this is a double Dutch door. Well, a Dutch door usually has the half that you can just keep closed and then the top half opens. So like maybe you can pass babies over instead of opening the door so the little ones can run out. But I don't know what to call this. We'll just call it a Dutch door fun fold variation. I don't know. We don't need to call it anything other than cute, because it's cute, right? And that is my card. So I would love to see your card. I said I would probably do a demonstration here, but I don't know that I really have one to do. Oh, here's a variation of my card. So I used a lighter base here, and then I didn't put this sprig over here. So you can see this one's definitely simpler. It doesn't have the gems on it either, but two variations, similar card. I will show you a card a couple cards that I did as part of the craft class. So the Lovely Blossoms craft class that Stampin' Up! Offered. These were not two of the cards that they made as part of the class, but these were two alternate designs. Very, very simple designs. This just uses, you know, a couple die cuts, so a couple of the flowers die cut and stamped. This oval label, heat embossed, and then this background here is one big die. And then here there's just a couple die cuts, the leaves that were stamped, and then the label again with the sending smiles. Uses the cloud cover ribbon. I really, 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 really love the Lovely Blossoms Suite. I'm most sad about the fact that these are not available until middle of April. However, I just got a notice about half an hour ago, well, an hour now maybe, that this designer series paper is back in stock. The stamp is great on its own, but the designer series paper is awesome, and I needed to order some more. So I'm glad it's back in stock, although I think they hadn't quite updated the system yet, because last time I checked, I still couldn't order it. So let me see if it's still back in stock. Let's see. It is showing as low inventory already. So in other words, gotta go because I need to order some before it goes out of stock again. So it must have just been a little small order that they got. I'm sure they've got lots more on the way because this stuff is gorgeous. So anyway, I'm going to have a Tune In Tuesday class that features this. I've already had a Clubhouse class that features this. So the Tune In Tuesday in March will feature this, so I got to have some extra on hand. And tomorrow is also a Tune In Tuesday, and that is going to feature this lovely paper, which is the Painted Illusions Designer Series paper. And I'll show you my favorite pattern, which I've been kind of hoarding. Well, I guess it's right here on the top. I love this, blues and greens. I love blues and greens. I love bluish greens and purples, as you saw today, but lots of fun stuff. So thanks for joining me for my impromptu mystery stamping in the snow. We'll love looking at your creations, so send them along to me. And oops, let's turn you around. Oh, here I am. I'm coming. There I am. There I am. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you sometime soon. I'm off to go order some Lovely Blossoms Designer Series paper. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.